Hello, and welcome to Book Circle. I'm Earl Weinberg. This time we will continue our reading of Past Master by R.A. Lafferty. Chapter 5 The Shape of Things to Come. Thomas was playing a Précis machine, which he had set to give him all general information about Astrobe. It was a good machine that would answer questions and depart from its formulae to give personal opinions when asked to do so. Golden Astrobe is an urban world, a world of cities, the Précis machine played. If a man is important, then a city is more important, and a very large city is still more important. When we have all become one perfect city in our totality, then our evolving will be completed. The individual must pass and be absorbed. The city is all that matters. A city is more than the totality of the people in it, just as a living body is more than the heaped up quantity of the total cells in it. When the cells consider themselves as individuals, that is cancer in the body. When men look upon themselves as individuals, that is cancer in the body politic. The great cities of Astrobe in our present evolving phase toward the one great city are Cosmopolis, the capital, Potter, Ruckle, Ciudad Fabella, Sykestown, Kesem City, Wendopolis, Metropole, Fitztown, Doggle, Culpeper, Big Gobi, Griggs, and Wootown. Of these, Cosmopolis the capital is the most perfected, and Wootown the least. Yet there is hope even for Wootown. All things achieve salvation in the great synthesis. All these cities are quite large, it having been found several centuries ago that a city of less than 25 million persons is not economical. But beyond these, there is no point in multiplying cities or people. The small annual increase that is allowed for Astrobe is balanced by emigration to colony worlds. We do not believe in heaping up people. What about Cathead? Thomas asked the Précis machine. Cathead is the cancer that is being excised from this world. It is the cancer because the inhabitants of Cathead regard themselves as individuals and believe in the importance of individuals. Yes, Cathead is quite large, the largest of the cities, larger even than Cosmopolis, the capital. We will leave Cathead out of account here, since it is not typical of Astrobe. There is no poverty on Astrobe, since all persons have access to all things. There is no superstition, nor belief in anything beyond, since there can be nothing beyond. Any beyond will ultimately be evolved from here. While Astrobe is the highest thing, there can be nothing higher. This is the essence of the Astrobe dream. There is no sickness on Astrobe, either bodily or mental. There is no nervousness, apprehension, or fear. All arts and all sciences are open to every person. Travel about the world is by instantaneous conveyance. The weather and the oceans have been controlled. There is no feeling of guilt, since freedom from every repression has been achieved. There is no cruelty or hate. There is no possibility of sin, since there is nothing to sin against. There is every luxury and every interest available to everyone. There is almost perfect justice. The few remaining courts are to provide redress to inequalities brought about by misunderstandings, and these become fewer and fewer. It has its points, it has its points, said Thomas and rubbed his hands, and yet it seems as though someone had recounted all this long ago. New dimensions of pleasure are achieved daily and almost hourly, the Précis machine played. All live in constant ecstasy. We are all one being, the whole world of us, and we reach the heights of intense intercommunication. We come to have a single mind and a single spirit. We are everything. We are the living cosmos. The people of Astrobe do not dream at night, for a dream is a maladjustment. We do not have an unconscious as the ancient people had, for an unconscious is the dark side, and we are all light. For us there is no future, the future is now. There is no heaven as the ancients believed. For many years we have been in the only afterlife there is. Death is unimportant. By it we simply become more closely integrated into the city. We leave off being individual. In us there is neither human nor programmed, but we are all one. We verge to our apex, which is the total realization of the world folk. We become a single organism, ever more intense and more intricate, the city itself. I remember now who it was who limned this all out before, said Thomas. It was myself. What other man makes a joke about a tree and the tree bears fruit? But I like it more now than when first I mocked it. It sounds better when it comes tumbling from another mouth, even a tin mouth. What, shall I be enchanted by my own spell? We all say the same things. We all think the same thoughts. We all have the same feelings and pleasures, the Précy machine played. Both love and hate disappear, for they were two aspects of the same thing, a mantle that was worn by our species in its childhood. We stand unencumbered before the Grian sun. We are the sun. We are everything. We merge. We lose both being and non being, for both are particulars. We become the extensible and many dimensioned sphere that has neither beginning nor end, nor being. We enter the calm intensity where strife and peace cancel each other out, where consciousness follows unconsciousness into oblivion. We are devoured by holy nothingness, the big O, the ultimate point for all us ultimates. Shove it, my little mechanical mentor, shove it, Thomas More said. I made it up. I invented it. It was a joke, I tell you, a bitter joke. It was not how to build a world. It was how to not build a world. But I am not finished, the Précy machine played. The vision still ascends. Well, no, it doesn't exactly ascend beyond a certain point, since it has reached a sphere where there is neither up nor down, but it becomes intensity still more intense. And shove it, little tin horn, shove it, Thomas laughed. You are not impressed by the golden Astrobe dream that is becoming reality? The Précy machine asked with apprehension, or what would have been apprehension if that still obtained on Astrobe. Not very much, Thomas said. I invented it all for a sour joke. You mustn't let the sour joke be on me. And yet Thomas was impressed by the Astrobe achievement, if not by the Astrobe dream. There was a terrible clarity running through everything, a simplicity containing all the complexity. In matter and mind, Astrobe was neat, and the rains fell always on their scheduled hour. That was something. There was order. Astrobe was an urban world. All its great cities were really one in a single close cluster. The countryside was little used. There were the automated production strips, and there were the feral or wild strips to keep the balance. Few people lived in either. It was the cities that were the heart of Astrobe, and the people of the cities were born knowing everything. There were no individuals with sharp edges. There were no dissenting or pernicious elements. There was the high, flat plane of excellence in all things. What can you say against a world that has gained every goal ever set? And there was pleasant termination available as soon as a touch of weariness set in. It sets in with me already, Thomas said. I have to hold on to myself with both hands every time I pass a termination booth. But one thing seemed to be lacking on Astrobe, and it puzzled Thomas. Where do the people attend Mass? He asked as he stood in the middle of Golden Cosmopolis. They don't, Thomas. They haven't for centuries, Paul told him. Oh, there are very few who do sometimes. I do myself on occasion, but I am a freak and usually classed as a criminal. And in Cathead, there has been a new appearance of the thing, along with other oddities, but not one person in 10,000 on Astrobe has ever attended. Are there no churches at all, then? In Cathead and the Barrio and the Feral strips, there are a few that might still be called by the name. Such buildings as remain in Cosmopolis and the other cities are under the Department of Antiquities. Some of them have period statuary that is of interest to the specialist. While Mass itself cannot be found in any of them here, the replica can be played on demand. Let us go to one of them. After groping about in some rather obscure streets that Paul knew imperfectly, they found one. It was quite small and tucked away in a corner. They entered. There was the sense of total emptiness. There was no presence. I wonder what time is the next Mass, Thomas said, or the Mass that is not quite a Mass. I'm not sure that I understand you on it. Oh, put a Stoimanov door in the slot and push the button. Then the Mass will begin. Thomas did, and it did. The priest came up out of the floor. He was not human, unless he was zombie human. He was probably not even a programmed person. He may have been a mechanical device. He wore a pearl gray derby hat, swish boy sideburns, and common green shorts or breechcloth. His depilated torso was hermaphroditic. He or it smoked a long Ouija weed cigarette in a period holder. He began to jerk and to intone with dreadful dissonance. Then a number of other contrivances arrived from somewhere, intoning in mock chorus to the priest and twanging instruments. For the love of St. Jack, what are those, Paul? Tom asked in bewilderment. Are those not the instruments described by Dante as played in lowest hell? Why, the whole thing is turned into a dirty burlesque, Paul, played out with unclean puppets. Why, Paul, why? Oh, it had really turned into such a thing before it died, Thomas. This is what the church and the mass had become when it was taken over by the government as a curiosity and an antique. Well, the replica mass ran its short course to the jerking and bawling of the ancient ritual guitar. At sermon time was given a straight news broadcast so that one should not be out of touch with the world for an entire 15 minutes. At the consecration, a sign lit up, brought to you courtesy of Grallo Grape Ape, the finest of the bogus wines. The bread was ancient style hot dog rolls. The puppets or mechanisms danced up and used the old vein needle before taking the rolls. How do you stop the dirty little things? Thomas asked. Push the stop button, Paul said. Here, I'll do it. And he stopped it. Why, I wonder how it all came about, Thomas said. That snake on a stick, is it meant to be the Christ? Is that leering whore holding the deformed monkey meant to be the Virgin? A dirty little burlesque, a dreary bit of devil worship. But even dirty burlesques are not made out of nothing. Had the mass really fallen so low? So I have read, Thomas. It fell to just this low estate before it became ritually frozen. Then the church was only a thing like other things, Paul, and it died as other things do? So most say. The Metropolitan of Astrobe still lives, but he is a very old man, and the office will probably not be continued beyond his lifetime. There is a slight revival of the church in Cathead, as I mentioned. Acceptance in Cathead is enough to damn a thing in any clean region. Cathead, the cancer growing on the fair planet. And in the feral strips, there are small groups who keep a rite that is not a burlesque. Well, I never had too much faith, Paul. I believe for a while in the mornings if I wake feeling well, but my belief is almost always gone by noon. Somehow I thought that the church would continue, but I don't know why I thought so. It would, after all, be an anomaly on rational Astrobe. I am glad to see the old thing gone. I'm not, Paul said bitterly. I came to it when it was a black remnant in my darkest days in Cathead, but it's more than all the other things. Yes, I'm crazy, Thomas. I have bone splinters in my brain, but it's curious that you are a saint in the church in which you don't believe, which you are glad to see gone. Thomas laughed loudly and clearly, a really cheerful thing, high and fluted. He and Paul went out into the sudden golden daylight. Aye, they were right to push the old fraud into a corner and turn her into a dirty burlesque, Thomas said. If the tree does not bear fruit, cut it down. Thomas spent entire days marveling at the wonderful ways of Astrobe. He had been something of a skeptic at first. Now he had swallowed bait, hook, line, rod, and fisherman's arm. He had become a sudden strong advocate of the Astrobe dream. And yet he wanted to look more deeply into the workings of the thing, to examine its more distant roots and sources. It is hardly to be believed, he said one day when he had his retinue with him. Come, people, we will see more of this. We will travel again. Against the advice of his mentors, Thomas had decided to take some time to examine Astrobe. There's no point in travel, Thomas, Kingmaker had told him. It is all the same everywhere. That is the beauty of Astrobe. It is the same everywhere. Go where you will and see what you will, Proctor told him, but do not believe everything you think you have seen. When you get back, I will tell you what you have seen. There have been sad cases of men who say things falsely, and I had to take a hand. I do not want to do that. Luck be on thy head, good Thomas. You will not know how to see, Thomas. You will not know how at all, Fabian Foreman told him. You haven't the eyes for it. You will see it all from the wrong side. You are an awkward man, Thomas. In that hour it will be given you what you will see, Potskamp told him. And a little later, in a secret place and out of context, you will sit down with 9 entities, one of them myself, and you will be told what these things have been. You will see now toy things with toy eyes, but in that time you will be given seeing. Thomas had a loose retinue. He had chosen some of the members, and some of them had chosen him. It wasn't the group that the big men would have picked for him, though there was one spy for the big men in the group. There was his old Earth to Astrobe pilot, Paul. There was Scrivener and Slider. There was Maxwell and Walter Copperhead. There was Evita, the girl woman from the barrio, who was sister to the boy Adam. There was Rimrock the Ansel, whom Thomas called the Oceanic Man. But first, just what is an Ansel, anyhow? And what was Rimrock, who was a most exceptional Ansel? Ansels weren't understood at all on Astrobe, and that was their only home. Would you tell me of your origin, Rimrock? Thomas asked him. Of yourself personally, and of your species. I would, but I'm not sure I can, Rimrock said. What little we know of ourselves we have learned from regular people, or have guessed. When we passed through the strangeness and changed our caste, this entailed forgetting much of our beginnings. It is a childhood now shut off from us. You see, there were no Ansels to be found on Astro when Earthmen first came here. It wasn't until the second generation of men on Astrobe that any of us were discovered, and we were quite backward. We do not generate rapidly, but none of us die in our present memory, so we do increase in numbers. We have developed from contact with regular people, and we ourselves have more influence on people than they suspect. People children are forbidden to associate with us, but they dream about us, as do the adults. It is nonsense that the happy people of Astrobe do not have night dreams. I have walked through many thousands of those dreams myself. I cannot see that we have any limit, Thomas, though I am not clear as to what our symbiotic relation with regular people should be. But you must know where you came from, Rimrock. Well, we do know it, but we have garbled it in legend. Our legend is that we are the people who climbed all the way to the sky, broke holes in it, and climbed out into a strange world that is above the sky. This world that you know, the noonday world of Astro, is the world that is above the sky. You do not feel it, but we do. We were deep ocean creatures, Thomas. I remember, like a thing before birth, the world of the depths. But we didn't consider it the depths. We loved to climb, to fly. Our epics were all stories of such daring. We loved the pinnacled mountains. Our heroes were those who climbed them the highest. We flew up and ever up, establishing settlements on higher and still higher mountain legends. We came to the beginning of light and then to the beginnings of vision. This was the first of the strange zone that we had to cross. When we came out of it on the higher side, we would be different creatures with minds formed again. For there had come the exciting rumor that some of the great mountain spires might actually pierce the sky itself. We had, of course, long talked to fish creatures who claimed that they had been all the way to the sky, that they had indeed leapt through holes in the sky and then fallen back. But who believes fish? You really did talk with fish, Rimrock? Why not, Thomas? We now talk with men who are much more intricate creatures. But this fish story was true. I remember it all as of something from another life, the epic thing we did. I was a member of the first party. We flew and climbed higher and higher to truly dizzy heights. We went up the sheer cliffs of the edge of the world mountains. All the strong stories were that this was one that surely pierced the sky. We ascended more than 10 kilometers, fearful always that we would not be able to live at that height. The sky, we had believed ever since we had received wisdom, was at an infinite distance from us and would always appear at the same distance, no matter how high we climbed. We now discovered that this was not so. We came closer to the sky and we were almost hysterical in our excitement. We came all the way up to it and touched it with our members. We did not die as we had feared. An epic hero has done this eons before, but he died from it. So it was no ordinary thing that we did. Rimrock had first been talking with free movement of his rubbery mouth, but for a while his mouth had not moved and he was talking in Thomas's head. He could speak in either manner, and he did not always realize himself when he went from one to the other. Then we burst through splintering holes in the sky and came out gasping into the world that is above the sky, Rimrock recounted. To your viewpoint, we came up out of the ocean onto the land, but it is yourselves who do not appreciate the magnitude of it. You did it so long ago that you have forgotten it, both in your minds and your underminds. But how can you forget that you live on the top of the sky? How can you forget that every moment you walk, you are walking on a precarious rug higher than a 5,000-story high building? Do you know that the highest flying birds of the air cannot rise 1/10 as high as we stand now? Thomas, I was one of the first ones who splintered the sky and came up on the sky shore, Rimrock proclaimed. I was one of the primordial heroes, and we found that sky shore sprinkled with shells in the form of stars for signature of it. May the sense of wonder never leave me. I begin to get the feel of you more and more, Thomas said, not in words, but in old shapes. Regular people have sealed off the interior ocean that used to be in every man, Grimrock said. They closed the ocean and ground up its monsters for fertilizer. That is why we so often enter into people's dreams. We take the place of the monsters they have lost. What occupations do Ansel's follow? Thomas asked him. Some are in communication, since each of us is a communications center, but most of us work as commercial divers, underwater welders, pier builders, that sort of thing. Water is still our first element, but the waters around Cathead, where I work, have become so foul from the uncontrolled industries that they bother us. The poor lungers of Cathead cough up their lungs from the contaminated air. We suffer in our 5 bladders from the contaminated water. It is a rare treat for us to get away for a day or two in clean air or in clean water. Are you paid well for your underwater work, Rimrock? No, a Stoimanoff door a week. A Stoimanoff door is a small gold coin. Why do you work for money at all? You don't wear clothes or live in houses or eat food that is sold for money. What do you do with your money? Play Fantan, said the Ansel. Well, what was Evita? We don't know. Thomas never knew. She was never sure herself. She was one of those who had chosen Thomas, not been chosen by him. All on Astrobe will think it strange if you do not travel with a mistress, she said. Nobody has ever done that before. They will believe that you are not in accord with the golden dream of Astrobe. I know that you would not like to seem an awkward and impossible person, and I will not allow another woman to be with you. I am an awkward and impossible person, and it bothers me not at all, Thomas said. Leave me, you scrawny young witch. I have seen sparrows, and they still fledglings with more meat on them than you. You know that's not true. What kind of fat tubs did they like in your day? I'm quite well fleshed, and I've been called the most beautiful woman on Astrobe. You will also find me intelligent, and in this I'm exceptional. Astrobe, though you may not have noticed it yet, has a high level of mediocrity only. You are misnamed, Evita. You travel falsely. You are no Eva, but the Lilith who was before her, the witch. I am both. Did you not know that they were one? And I have a personal reason. When I decided to go to hell to prove a point, I set myself a goal, the seduction of a saint. But where else can I find one? They have not been canonized for hundreds of years. Big little Thomas, out of time and out of place, you are the only certified saint I'm ever likely to meet. We are neither of us any longer of the flesh in that way, Thomas said. He said neither, where you would say neither, one of the oddities of speech that still clung about him, and there was a burr in his talk. And you yourself are now taken by a much deeper passion, Evita, he said, and it precludes the other thing. Come along then, witch child. If we are ever hungry on the heaths, we'll have you spitted and break you up haunch and chine and eat you complete, and be hungry again within an hour. He joked. She was of copious build, and she smiled down on him. The color of her hair, the color of her eyes, the incredible lines of her? No, no, they won't be given here. You will not know them till the last day, and then only if you are one of the blessed. And we'll find out about the others in Thomas's retinue next time.